Joining us now, Curt Mills, the executive director of American Conservative magazine. Curt, welcome to the show. Let's start with what you think of the vice president's comments.
Unsurprising. I think he made the military objectives as broad as possible. No nuclear weapon. That's putting aside that this war could have been avoided and no nuclear weapon was available in the diplomatic route. And he's not going to break with President Trump. I think no surprises.
I also want to play something that the president said earlier today. Something I'm told by my team clearly stood out to you. Let's take a quick listen.
In the last 2 weeks, they weren't supposed to go after all these other countries in the Middle East. Those missiles were set to go after them. So they hit Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait. Nobody expected that. We were shocked.
No one expected that. We were shocked. What does that tell you about the decision to launch these strikes?
That the decision was a disaster, that they didn't read the policy briefs or investigate the issue of what this war would look like. I do think that the amount the Iranians hit the Gulf was surprising, but the idea that the Iranians wouldn't regionalize the war, as they put it, in the event of a war, which we're now in, I think it's just it's not clear that the White House was briefed on the issue. Frankly, this was known by people who studied this for years.
But with that said, polling shows the vast majority of Republicans still support this war. How big is this anti-war contingent, Curt?
I think it's rather large. I mean, it's what the president ran on in 2016 and 2024, particularly. I think, look, there's a lot of passive supporters of the president. There's a lot of people who are glad that Kamala Harris is not the president. I'm one of them. But there are people who are not paying attention to this every day. The war is still fairly new. Americans are getting killed. If the war drags on, I do think you're going to see a steady attrition of it. Additionally, it's been very clever by our Iranian adversaries. They are making it economically painful for the United States, and I think that's going to eat into his support. So I do think it's a false framing. I think fundamentally, if the president had signed a diplomatic deal, I think you would have seen supermajorities of Republicans support that too.
Realistically, right now, there doesn't seem to be an end in sight. How much depends on how long this war lasts?
A lot. I mean, I think I can't help but think, 6 years ago, the bad flashbacks to COVID. I mean, if COVID, the lockdowns for a few weeks, I think it would be one thing. If this is a quagmire that lasts months into years, I think this thunders another Trump presidency.
I've been listening to former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's been very vocal. She says the longer the war in Iran goes on, the more likely it will hurt Vice President Vance and other figures known for being against foreign wars. We just heard from the vice president. He says the media was trying to put a wedge between him and President Trump because of comments he made years ago. But do you agree? Could this stay with not only Vance, but other political leaders?
Look, I mean, MTG was one of the early supporters of Vance's primary campaign in 2022. Right. This is not just a random person. Yeah, I think it's a tricky spot for the vice president, but I don't see any reason why to doubt that, he might not be able to navigate it. He's been underrated before. I think he could be underestimated again. I think he's in an interesting position where I think he's clearly the favorite of a lot of people in the administration who oppose the war, but he's got to maintain that he's publicly for it. And if and when he runs for president in 2028, I think he's going to have to explain where he was on this decision. And I think he's going to have to avoid the mistake that Kamala Harris made, which was a no daylight policy with her predecessor, or preferred predecessor, or sought after predecessor.
Another vocal Republican, Senator Rand Paul, he's warning about midterms. He says because of this war, the midterms could be disastrous for the GOP. Republicans have already been facing some headwinds. Do you think the war in Iran will be something voters are thinking about when they head to the polls this fall, in a few months?
Well, look, I think Senator Paul is a lodestar and a champion of foreign policy restraint in the upper chamber. I think that he is also underratedly savvy politician at a certain level, and I think he knows what he's talking about. I think the betting markets agree. Since this Iran war, betting markets have flipped. The Democrats are now the favorite to take the Senate. I mean, this is a slow moving cataclysm potentially politically for the GOP. And again, for people my age, people who are accustomed to only Republicans cutting taxes, invading the Middle East, I think it's a bad branding problem in the 21st century for the GOP.
You made a good point, and I do want to talk about that. We know in 2024, the president won big in certain demographics, racially, ethnically diverse groups, young voters like yourself. Can Republicans still win back their support?
Sure. But the president should declare victory now and come home.
End the war now and come home. Do you think that's really the only route for many Republicans to get back on or continue to support President Trump into the midterms?
Yeah, I mean, this is the advantage of someone like Donald Trump over George W. Bush. He's less ideological. I think he's less likely to stay in the course of this, but he does seem dug in, and I think he's getting terrible advice. I think his best possible route is to come home, declare victory, so they took out the supreme leader, they eroded some of the Iranians' military capabilities. This is a war the United States cannot win, at least not win on the terms the administration is trying to set it. If we do a massive ground invasion a la Iraq, I have no doubt that we could eventually take out the Islamic Republic. But why? What is this what he campaigned on? What is this? Is this in the national interest? It is not.
Curt Mills from the American Conservative magazine. I enjoyed our conversation, Curt. We hope you come back. Thank you again.